So it's a beautiful sunny night. I just opened up my curtains because the sun was baking on me here. So tonight I would like us to start with some of our abdominal breathing we've been doing in this class. So if you've been coming to my classes, you kind of have an idea of some of the things I've been working on. So a nice big heavy book would be nice to have to place on our abdomen so we can really feel the sensation of the rising and falling of the belly. If you don't have a big book, a yoga block will do. The foam ones are going to be a little light. The cork ones will be a little bit heavier, so you'll get a little bit more of that sensation. Let's also have our yoga strap nearby tonight. I want us to, if I remember, get into some work with our strap so you can have that ready. Extra cushions, a folded towel or a folded blanket, which I happen to be sitting back on. We're going to incorporate this, the blanket or towel right away, and a pillow or a bolster. So our supported pose tonight will either include Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose, or other options for our legs with the pillow as additional support. And then I want us to add that chest, a little bit of a chest lift tonight. A little different than what we've been doing with the roll. This is just going to be a mild support for the upper back and the head. And we're going to make a narrow rectangle so that the shoulders and elbows will still fall off to the sides. So what that means is you'll want to get your towel or your blanket from one long fold in half to one more fold. So it's a smaller rectangle. And then at that point, folding it one more time lengthwise. So you have this nice, long, skinny, folded rectangle that's really just an inch or two in height with the towel. If you are going to want a little bit more, same thing with your blanket. You have a long rectangle, fold it in half, and then fold it in half one more time lengthwise. So long, skinny, this is obviously going to be a little bit higher. And we're going to place that running down the middle of our mat where it's going to hit underneath between the shoulder blades and the back of the head. I'm going to choose my towel tonight so it's a little bit more gentle. Now we can slide that short end of our fold closer into the low back, but if you bring it higher up and you just place it right at the tips of the shoulder blades and you let the low back sink into the ground, you're going to get that little extra oomph through the chest and the heart. So you'll feel it a little bit more, but you're welcome to play with the position of that. So I'm going to allow mine to hit me just at the tips of those shoulder blades so that my low back can stay nice and grounded. Swinging our legs over our bolsters or our pillows, you'll just have to figure out where you are in space to line up the body. Have your block or your book nearby, and then we'll come on down. So ideally, we're going to feel that stretch through the chest and allow the shoulders, taking cactus arms if we want a little bit more, bending at the elbows and backs of the hands falling to the ground. And if you have some leftover length here of your towel or your blanket, you can tuck that over one more time if the head wants a little extra support, or kind of cinch it underneath the curve of the neck to support the neck a little bit more. So that's also a way to kind of play with that. Arms down into Shavasana, also totally fine here. And as most of us know, I'll just go through our options in the legs. So our first option is to keep the knees bent up and together. Support of the pillow feels nice. Hip opening, soles of the feet touch, knees open with the support of the pillow. Or if we've been sitting all day, like I have, I want to stretch my legs out, open up the backs of the knees, and just allow them to lengthen out here. So once we get comfortable, we adjust our props and get everything situated. We'll take our book or our prop and lay it right on top of the soft part of the belly. So it shouldn't be touching the rib cage. You want it just below the ribs, right on top of the belly button. And we'll just let it rest there for a moment. Don't worry about it just yet, just relax. Once we're comfortable, get the wiggles out, loosen everything up, poof those cheeks with air. Adjust the feet, the hands, and the arms. Find the very back center of the skull. And then close the eyes. Our eyes work very hard for us all day long. So it's so important to give them opportunities to rest throughout the day. And simply just closing the eyes or palming the eyes can do a lot of good for them. And when we close our eyes, it helps reduce the stimulation to our brain and from the distractions around us so that we can start to center and tune in, redirecting that attention inward onto ourselves, our bodies, and our breath. So as usual, we'll start with the physical body, allowing the weight of the whole body to sink into the earth, letting go of any tension, tightness in the body, loosening the joints, relaxing the muscles, all the way down the body from the very crown of the head to the fingertips and toes. Relaxing the tiniest little muscles around the face, the mouth, tongue, and jaw. And relaxing those larger muscles that wrap around the hips, the thighs, running down the limbs of the arms and the legs. Any areas that we come across tonight that feel tender, stiff, or sore, let's also pause and honor those areas, allowing them to relax, remembering that we will listen to them, modifying and adjusting accordingly. Continue to relax the whole body as we now spread our awareness to the rhythm of the natural breath. Simply observing and watching the body breathe. And breathing in and out through the nose as best as possible with smooth and even breaths. Where does the breath move? What sounds does the breath make? How is it flowing around the tip of the nose and the nostrils? Making these observations without judgment. Simply acting as a witness, looking from the outside in. And so we'll move a little bit deeper with our awareness and our attention into this breath. Starting to focus now more around the abdomen and the abdominal muscles. Still breathing in and out through the nose. And noticing the rise and fall might be a little subtle at first with the breath. And then we'll start taking these deeper yogic breaths, diaphragmic breaths. So on our next inhale, we'll relax the abdomen and we will lift our prop up as high as we can as the belly rises with some purpose and intention. On our exhale, we'll allow that weight to drop down into the body and we'll try to pull it down in towards the body by contracting the abdominal muscles with some purpose and intention. The inhale relaxes the muscles, which allows our diaphragm to drop, the abdomen expands, we lift our prop up. The exhale drops the belly down, pushing the diaphragm up, pushing all that old air out, and contracting those muscles to really draw the belly in as much as possible. Once we get the rise and fall of the belly with the breath, we'll still move at a comfortable pace and at our own rhythm, but we'll add that layer of Samavritti Pranayama. So we're just trying to equalize the inhale to the exhale, exhale to the inhale. So on the next inhale, we'll mentally count the number we're breathing in to fill ourselves up tonight. And when we get to that next exhale, we mentally count the same number back out. Couple more rounds here. As we improve our breathing and increase our lung capacity, we might stretch that breath out by adding 1 or 2 more counts to both the inhale and exhale. And then we'll take 1 more cycle of breath. And I want this cycle of breath to be our biggest breath yet of our day. So this next inhale, we will expand the abdomen, lift our prop up as high as we can, and continue to fill the whole body. Let the rib cage expand, the chest rise, really bringing that breath all the way up to the top and the brim. And that next exhale, as long as we need, we exhale, 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 contract and squeeze, and empty, empty, empty every last drop out. Really try to clean everything out. And at the bottom of that exhale, we will take a break from trying to control and follow our breathing for a moment, so let it naturally wander away wherever it wants to go. Start to feel the relaxed body here, the contact points with the floor and the props underneath the body. Gently waking the body back up, just a little wiggle of the toes, the fingertips, a rock of the head side to side. Reaching down, we'll take the prop off of our belly, place it off to the side of the mat. And still on our props here, we'll take our long body stretch. So if your knees are bent out or up, you can try to straighten and stretch both of our legs out down the middle of our yoga mat. And then we'll slide those arms overhead as far as we can reach. Just being mindful that if you are more elevated, that will be a deeper stretch for the shoulders. As we lengthen everything out, let's point and flex our feet a couple times. Stretch it out side to side, left to right. 1 more big breath in here. Let's flex those feet. Spread the toes, spread the fingertips. And then on our exhale, we'll slide the arms down a little bit and we'll walk our feet in. So we might not be able to hug those knees all the way in our elevated state here, but we'll float the feet. We'll roll on over to our right side and pause for a moment. And then let's press them to the ground and we're gonna bring our bodies up. And we're actually gonna come all the way up into a seat today. So take your time to come on up. We'll clear our space except for what we wanna prop our sit bones on, coming into our seated position. So we can slide our other props out of the way. And we could take any comfortable seated position here. So we'll elevate those sit bones, equalize the weight in both of them. Sukhasana will be our easy cross or Siddhasana heel to heel. And we'll sit up nice and tall. Continue to draw that low belly in just enough so that our spine can stay elongated in a neutral position. Floating the arms out to the side here, let's turn those palms up. And on our inhale, just draw a nice big circle overhead, extending the arms up to the ceiling. Turning those palms out, exhale, let's float them back down to the floor. So lateral extension, if you're taking care of that low back, maybe just keep yourself erect and just stretch the arms upwards without taking the side to side. We'll inhale the right arm up, staying here, or on our exhale, we'll slide down that invisible wall. Make sure both sit bones stay grounded, low belly in. Using our inhale to pull us back up through center. Switching arms. We should feel this stretch through our waist, rib cage, and shoulder. We'll go one more time to each side, inhaling up through center. Keep the head an extension of the spine. The drishti might gaze upwards. After we take it one more time to our right, we'll inhale and reach both arms up to the ceiling. We'll bring the palms to touch and exhale to our center. So those of us cross-legged, we'll take a quick moment, switch the cross of our legs, continue to sit up nice and tall. Inhale, draw that big circle overhead. For a more active twist here, so keep this length. Exhale, let's rotate and twist to our right. The fingertips might reach down to opposite knee and floor, but no weight in the hands. Let's allow the head and those eyes to follow, so peek behind the body. Inhaling, everything reaches back up to center. Exhale, we're using our muscles here, so contract your left side to help twist to the left. Head and eyes follow. Inhale, reaching up. Again, one more time to each side. Exhale. Keep those shoulders and chin parallel to the floor. Big breath in and up. And we'll twist one more time to our left. Meeting on that inhale, reaching both arms up, bringing the palms to touch, and exhaling to center. So we'll make another big transition now to our tabletop. We can get there however we want, whether you're crawling forward or stretching the legs out and moving around in your space. Setting up that nice strong foundation, so spreading those fingers wide, pressing into the ground so we have some strength in those arms. Knees under hips, tops of the feet flat to the floor, or those toes might tuck under. Keeping the head in line with the spine, let's go into our extension and flexion. Deep breath in, relaxes the belly, lifting the tail all the way up to the crown of the head, trying to create space between the vertebrae. Exhaling, draw the belly in, scoop the tail under, round the back up, and look towards the belly button. Reconnect to that breath. Inhaling, gentle back bending. Exhale, scooping, tucking, and rounding. So remember, some of us might need a little bit more in one of these. If we need to decompress our spine, we'll stay in our back bend for a couple breaths, little lateral movements there. If we have really tight muscles down the back, maybe we hold into our rounding and stretch it out there. Or continue to move evenly. Try to get some movement in the hips, through each vertebra of the spine, between the shoulder blades, and then the neck and the head. We'll balance ourselves out. We'll meet back in a neutral position, and then we're going to sit it back into our first child's pose. So opening the knees nice and wide, touch the big toes, draw the hips back to the heels. Continuing to extend the fingertips forward and opening the hands wider than the shoulders to include a chest and shoulder stretch as we melt the belly, heart, and head to the floor. Modifications for our knees, sit back on a pillow or a rolled blanket, or simply keep your hips higher up. A more passive approach tonight. Also, you can place your arms underneath your forehead, especially if the head isn't easily touching the ground. Let's give our head some support tonight if it needs it. Big stretch for the low back around the hips. Continue to try to melt the heart as much as possible towards the mat. Next inhale, we'll float the head and the body back up into our tabletop position. So we'll do a little bit of balance work here, our spinal integration. We haven't done these with me anyway in a little bit. And then we'll get into that low flow that we've been working on. So we want to restack the joints, draw that low belly in, keep the low back and hips level. Let's give our right leg a nice big stretch behind us, follow the foot to the floor, pressing the heel towards the ground. From here, we'll squeeze our right side to hover the right leg now parallel to the floor. And we might be holding here, or we'll add that left arm, extending it straight forward from the shoulder, palm in, thumb up. So we're holding in the stagnant position. This will strengthen the core. It also challenges our balance. And we'll choose to stay here, or I'm going to give you one more dimension. We will not be doing this if we're taking care of our low back, but some of us might want to be working on toning and strengthening these core muscles a little bit more. So what that looks like on the inhale, we'll open the right leg out to the right and the left arm out to the left. So you're moving the limbs away from the midline, and then you'll exhale and pull the leg and the arm back into center. So on the inhale, you're opening the limbs off the edges of the mat. Exhale, squeezing them back to center. We'll try that one more time, those of us trying. Inhale, right leg out to the right, left arm to the left. Exhale, pull it back, breathe it in. Exhale, tabletop. Remember, when we bring that hand and knee back down, there shouldn't be a big shift in the hip or the upper body. If there was, just a little bit more concentration on the core. So stabilize low back and hips. Give that left leg a stretch back. Just stretch out the leg at first. Press in and heel towards the ground. Equal weight in both hands to start, especially through the first knuckles of the hands. Now squeeze the left side to hover that left leg from the floor. Foot's flexing. Good. Option to stay here. Second option is to add that right arm. Palm in, thumb up. Spinal integration. Shaking, weeble wobbling, totally normal. Option to stay here, or 3 times with the breath. On the inhale, left leg to the left, right arm to the right. Exhale, we pull it all back to center. Really try to control this movement as much as possible. Inhaling, opening out. Exhale to center. One more. Exhale, pull it back in. Inhale, breathe it in. Exhale, tabletop. Hands and knees come down. Let's take a couple rounds of our cat-cow. Fingertips or fists for wrists at any time. Cat-cow is just a nice way to make sure everything got back to where it's supposed to be. Come back to neutral. Let's walk ourselves a little bit further back towards the back of our mat. Toes are tucked under. Hands are going to walk one hand's distance forward. Pull that low belly in. We want to keep our spine in neutral. Inhale, slide forward into our kneeling plank. Scoop that tailbone under. Make sure your head's in line with the spine. Exhale, bow it back. So you'll pop your palms. The head doesn't need to touch. You're just giving your wrists a break and stretching out the back. Inhale, kneeling plank. Exhale, pull those hips back. Lift the palms, so just the fingertips drive into the mat, bow the head. Building into our upper arm strengthening. Inhaling, kneeling plank. Exhale, little bend in the elbows, doesn't need to be big. Your back needs to stay neutral. Inhale, straighten the arms. So you can exhale, take a bow back, or you can exhale and take another half chaturanga. Inhale, straighten. So when you're doing these, I can see some of you want to keep your head in line with your spine. We should feel this all in the backs of our upper arms, really strong core and low belly. The only thing that's moving is flexion at the elbow joint. Good job. Next time you come forward, if you're taking a bow, we'll inhale, kneeling plank. And the next exhale, this time we're going to bring it all the way down to our belly. You can try to go as slow as you can, eventually coming all the way down onto that belly. Sliding our hands underneath the shoulders, all 5 fingers touch. Flatten out the tops of the feet, keeping those feet wider than the hips as we take care of the low back, or zipping the legs up into the tail of our snake. The chin stretches forward, pull your shoulder blades together and down the back. Inhale, breathing, Bhujangasana. Squeezing the upper back to lift the chest. Mid and lower back is working. And remember, the glutes are there to support the back. Now we'll hold and breathe or take breaks as needed. Trying to lift the hands up here, keep squeezing through the upper mid back. Locusting those arms now beside the body, palms down, reaching the fingertips towards the heels. Still breathing. Half locust, inhale, right leg stays straight. You lift from the hip. Exhale it down. Inhale, left leg lifts from the hip. Exhale down. Alternate one more time, each leg, or Purna Shalabhasana. Inhale, flying off our yoga mat. Keep the back of the neck long, no wrinkles in it. Squeeze those glutes to help support. Big breath in. Exhale. Good job. Let's land down on the ground and approach Shavasana. So feel free to turn the head to one side, flap the arms down, palms up. Let the heels fall open. Give your hips a little wiggle. Notice how the body feels, the rhythm of the breath. And then just come back to that Samavriti Pranayama. One more breath. Turn the head the opposite direction if it is twisted. And then inhale, chin forward, hands underneath the shoulders, squeeze the shoulder blades in, strengthen out the tops of the feet to inhale up into Cobra, and then we'll move right into our Sphinx pose. So we'll slide those elbows forward, right underneath the shoulders, lifting the pinky edge of the hands into the ground. Now I can relax my feet and my back there again, because they're not doing the work. The upper arms are doing the work here. I'm going to press down through my forearms and feel like I'm trying to pull my spine through the crown of my head, forward and then upwards. So it's like you have a string attached to the top of your head and somebody is pulling you forward off the front of your mat and then up towards the ceiling. And the weight of our hips is keeping us grounded so that we should feel this stretch through the rib cage, the abdominal muscles. And I'm actively pressing through my forearms here, trying to gaze straight forward into Sphinx pose. We'll take a nice deep breath in. On the exhale, let's peek over our right shoulder for a little twisting action for our neck tonight. Stretch those eyes out, big wide eyes, and look how far as you can behind you. Inhale to center. Exhale, nice big twist here to the left. Inhale back. Exhale, one more time, peek to the right. Inhale to center. And one more time, exhale, look to the left. All right, we're gonna come back to the center, looking forward. We just did a little passive stretching decompression. Now we're gonna come back to our strengthening. So from Sphinx, interweave all 10 fingers. Your elbows should be right underneath those shoulders. We'll tuck our toes under. I'm going to actively scoop my tailbone under. Just the action of scooping my tailbone under should tighten the glutes and immediately start to pull my inner abdominal muscles in. So press into the ground and try to pull your low ribs away from the floor, that inner belly away from the floor. Keep scooping and tucking. The hip crease will lift. The pelvis will lift. The thighs will lift. And eventually the upper body from the knees to the shoulders will be in your forearm plank. From here, we can try to lift one knee at a time. Or if you think you're ready and you want it, both knees come up and we're hovering in forearm plank. Awesome job. Now I normally am looking at my watch right now and watching the second hand. But since I don't have that, let's just keep breathing for 5, 4, 3, 2, big breath in, and exhale. Good job. Bring it on down. Hands come under shoulders. Toes are tucked under. Tuck that tailbone under. Use your core and press the ground away from you, trying to press back up to that kneeling plank. Step the knees underneath the hips. Flat feet or toes tucked. Take some baby cat-cows. Start off small. We just did all that back strengthening and stretching. So we want to stretch out those muscles a little bit, but go easy. Inhaling and exhaling. And if you ever feel like you need to sit back in child's pose to give it a bigger stretch, you go for it. Coming back to neutral, hands walk one hand's distance forward, toes are tucking under. Draw that belly in again to float the hips up, back, and down. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Downward facing dog. Maybe our first down dog of the day. Probably not for some of you, but for me it is. So we'll take an opportunity here to pedal the heels, one heel at a time. Get that blood rush into our brain. Roll those upper arm bones away from the ears. Draw the shoulder blades down the back. Try to keep that weight equal in both hands and in both feet. Continue to draw belly to thighs, pressing the thighs back. Take a bend in those knees if you need to help decompress the spine even more. And then let's all inhale, both heels up as high as we can. Finding that crease across all of our toes. Exhale, drop the heels to the ground. Inhale, we'll look forward. We'll baby step or walk. Our feet to our hands, hands to our feet. Now, all of us do forward fold, so if you're modifying tonight, bring yourself slowly up to Tadasana, or rest your elbows or hands on your thighs. Feet stare parallel, unlock those knees. If you are coming to Uttanasana, strong legs, strong lower bandhas to protect that back, but we can ragdoll, hands to elbows, or release the shoulders, head and neck one at a time. Still an inversion, so just be mindful of how that feels. And then let's all micro bend our knees, take our hands on top of those thighs, fingers turned in, tuck the chin in, and on our inhale, we're gonna round it up today. So we're rolling through the vertebra. Inhale, 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 stacking one vertebra at a time. Once we start to come up, we'll roll those shoulders up, and then exhale, take them back and down. Softly float the arms out away from the body here. Float the head on the shoulders. Feel the power and strength in the lower half of the body. It's a really nice active feet. Pick up those toes, root through the mound of the big toe, inner heel, mound of the pinky toe, outer heel. Unlock those knees, hug the muscles to the bone, pull up through that pelvic floor and in through the lower abdomen. And let's turn our palms forward as we spread the fingers just to feel a little bit of that openness through the heart again. If those toes are still lifted, good job. We'll soften them towards the floor without losing the intensity in the legs. Let's draw that big circle overhead as we breathe in. Simultaneously, we'll lift those heels up into palm tree pose. Bring the palms to touch. Exhale down through our center. Good, 2 more times. Just getting our brain to get used to a little bit of balance work here. Inhale, reach it up. Exhale down. 1 more time. Reach, reach, reach. Good. And then exhale, lower it down. So from here, let's open the feet a little wider, just a hair. We're gonna shift our weight over to the right, and we're gonna float those arms down. So we did this one the other day. This is a little bit more fluidity, and then we'll find some stillness in it, so crane pose. So on our inhale, you can play a little bit first with get your balance, so lift and lower the toes of the left foot. And then we'll follow our breath here. So on our inhale, contract the core. You're bending the left knee up, and a little soft bend at the elbows. The fingertips are just hanging as you bring your arms overhead, and the foot's just kind of hanging. And then on the exhale, we softly come down. Now you may touch or try to hover. 2 more with the breath. Inhale. Floating up. Exhale. 1 more. Now we're not quite done. So this next inhale, we're gonna find the pose, but now we're gonna instill that stillness, bringing stillness into it. So arms are floating overhead. We wanna try to get that thigh parallel to the floor. The foot is still fairly relaxed. My shoulders are shrugging from my ears. If it helps, you can bring your arms further out to the side or even to your hips. My arms have been down all day here, so it feels good to let them be up above my head for a little bit. We're still breathing. Give me a big breath in. If your arms still are overhead, let's bring them to our hips. Activate the left foot, toes to shin, and try to kick the sole of that foot forward for 3, 2, pull the belly in, 1, exhale, bring it down. Good, so we'll do the same thing other side, a little wider stance here. Arms can float out to the side. We'll shift our weight over into our left side. So we'll feel a little lightness. Once you kind of find where your balance is on this side, we'll add the movement. Inhale, float the knee up. Softness at the elbow joints and wrist joints and the foot. Exhale, hover or touch. 2 more with movement and breath. So we're going to take it back up one more time into our crane pose and just try to hold. Cultivating that stillness, letting the breath flow through the nose. And maybe we aren't still, maybe we're shaking, weeble wobbling, we will fall out of the pose. That's okay, we keep our mind calm and we just come back to it. One more breath in. And this time we'll try to bring our hands to our hips. We'll activate the right foot toes to shin bone without leaning back. We're going to bring in that strength now and kick the foot forward for 3. Feel these muscles tightening, wrapping in. 2, 1, and let it go. Good job. So let's do an additional stretch for our chest and shoulders. We did this the other day and we'll want our yoga straps for it. If you don't have that strap, fold your towel lengthwise in half and roll it up as tight as possible so you have something to have tension on. We'll take Tadasana in the lower half of the body, so we'll just keep those legs, feet parallel to each other. Make sure you're not jamming and locking out your knees, but you have some strength in them. And create the stability by pulling front body to back body. Wider grip to start, generally better. Gives you a little bit more mobility in the shoulders. Don't force one shoulder through it. If one shoulder wants to stop, that's where we stop. And following that breath on the inhale, pull on the strap. We'll start to bring it up overhead, maybe slightly behind us. See what it feels like tonight. And then exhale down. Just go at your own rhythm. If you want to shorten your stance to deepen it, and that's okay for your body, you're welcome to. As we start to loosen things up, some of us might be able to draw that circle all the way back down and around. Ahimsa, non-violence. Don't force or push. If you ever catch yourself holding your breath or grimacing, probably need to adjust. Feet strong, legs strong, front body to back body. Now we're going to pause and hold in our favorite little place that we might have found. So for some of us, it might just be right overhead, pulling on that strap. There's no tension in the neck. It might be slightly back, really getting that stretch to the chest. Be mindful not to hyperextend the low back. I know it might feel good, but it's not going to do us any good over time. So we're still taking the upper buttock down to the ground. Big breath in. Oh, feels good. And then exhale, bring it on down. Good. We'll set the strap down just for now up to the edge. Shake the hands out. Let's do our little noodling side to side just to get any tension out. You can let your arms flop around the body here. And the hips can go with you too. Just make sure you're not oddly twerking your knees. And then we'll slow it down and bring ourselves back to center. So I said I want us to get into a couple deeper stretches tonight. So going into Kapotadasana, or pigeon pose. Remembering this isn't for everybody because of knees. So if you're not going to do prone pigeon, whenever you're ready, you'll come onto your back and you will do figure 4. Right leg up, back foot must stay flexed. Crossing ankle over thigh, hanging here. Drawing left leg in, hands behind left thigh, left leg up. Or taking the hands across the shin bone, stretching out the right hip first and then the left. And then when you transition, you can transition however you like. So please don't strain the knees. If prone pigeon doesn't work for you when we get there, you'll go onto your back. Those of us that want to move into prone pigeon, we can transition there from down dog, coming back to the top of our mat, standing in Tadasana. Ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips. Big breath in, drawing that big circle overhead. Drishti to thumbs for a gentle back bend. And then micro bending those knees, hinging and folding, revisiting our forward fold for a moment. We can prance those legs, sway the shoulders, head, and neck. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bend knees, plant hands. We'll take a big step back or maybe move to our back. Down dog people. Inhale that right leg up. Our exhale pulls the right knee forward through a plank. We take the right knee off to the right hand side behind the right wrist so your thigh bone's out at an angle. Then we slide the left foot and knee back behind us. Some of us will want to place a prop underneath that right hip. We want to keep the hips square, relaxing that left foot down and back behind us. If we're on your back, keep that right foot actively flexed when you cross your right ankle on top of your left thigh. So we should all be getting a stretch here in the right piriformis. As those muscles start to open and relax, we might be able to go a little further, dropping down to our forearms or elbows. Placing yoga blocks or pillows in front of you in prone pigeon is a great way to support the upper body as well. And we want both hips to sink equally down to the ground. So we don't want to try to lean into one or the other. We want to keep our low back as flat as possible and parallel to the floor. And if you've moved further into the pose, maybe stacking the head on the forearms, reaching the arms straight forward. There's some other variations, so just choose what feels best for you. And we will hold here for a couple breaths. And I'm just using my phone tonight to mind the time. Focus on that exhale. Often when we move tension out of one side of the body, it goes to other sides or other places. So always feel free to open the mouth and let out a nice sighing breath as needed. Let's all try to take one more nice big round of breathing, whatever variation we're in. And then we'll take our time to come up. So if you are on your back, you'll want to re-extend the right leg straight up to the ceiling first. And then you can bring the foot down and you can rock it out side to side. You can hug your knees in. Prone pigeon people, we want to bring our weight into our hands, tuck the back toes under. Inch our weight forward and press off the ground so there's no weight in that knee before we come out of the pose. Really important. And then you can stir the pot or walk it out to get the blood flowing back through that leg. So we'll go to the other side. If you're on your back, leg straight or back, straighten the left leg up, flex that foot actively, ankle over right thigh. Down dog, left leg up. Pulling that left knee forward and then angling it out to the left behind the left wrist. Inching that right foot and knee back and down. Taking support under that left thigh as needed or hip. Allow the low back and hips to sink equally down. We can relax that foot down. And again, supine pigeon, you can go through the different variations. Hands behind the thighs or maybe to the shin. We'll all be here for several deep breaths. And if you're moving forward and down, use the props, use your arms, your stacked fists. Let's all try to take one more nice big breath in the pose. To release, either re-extend the legs straight up to the ceiling first and then drop the foot down. If we're prone, tuck back toes under, inch forward, pressing up off that knee, and then moving the leg back down and around. If you're on your back, you're welcome to stay there. We're about to catch up with you here in a moment. Down dog people, we inhale our heels up. Exhale, drop the knees down, point the toes, and sink ourselves back and down. More traditional Balasana keeps the knees together. Arms slide down beside the body, and the head drops down to the ground for a moment. Hands under shoulders, tuck the chin. Let's round it on up. We'll scooch our hips over to either side and bring our feet forward. So we've done a little bit of core tonight, not as much as we've been doing in some other classes, but if you would like to do the slow roll down that we've been doing, we added a new element with a yoga block. However, and sorry, if you were on your back and you'd like to come up and join us for this, feel free to do so. I just added this quickly. So we can try it tonight. It's not for low back people necessarily. So you might choose to try to hover and hold a Namaste or just come down onto your back and do happy baby and enjoy being there. If you'd like to try the slow roll downs and ups with me, we plant the soles of the feet together. The knees are falling wider than the hips. Either fingertips, or we'll take our yoga block forward. Sometimes it's nice for the brain to have something to focus in on as a goal. Now we are scooping, so I'm pulling the low belly in. I'm going to round my back, and I'm going to try to come down just a little bit, pulling the belly in, and I'm going to inhale back up. We'll try to take it a little further. So exhale, coming down to the sacrum, and inhaling, coming back up. So really tighten those abdominals. A little lower, we're trying to roll through the back, mid-back. Inhale, pull yourself up, reach for that second good. Exhale, bring it in down. Good job. Try to get the shoulders. Inhale on up. Next time you come down, good job. We're going to go down, down, down to those shoulders. Back and ahead. And inhale. Pull ourselves all the way up. Next time we're ready to come down, my roll down people, we're going to bring it all the way down. So come on down, one vertebra at a time. Bring the head down, set the block down for a moment. Let's all straighten and stretch out those legs and reach our arms overhead into our long body stretch. And then exhale, we'll float those arms down, adjust the clothing, bring the shoulder blades under, walk the feet in, and draw the knees in for a moment to massage off the back. So we are going to do a little bit more of abdominal work here. So these are going to be either our yogi sit-ups. Now I did introduce a new variation of these the other day. I want us to all have a successful option to work with tonight. So let me go through those. The first option, arms down, our hands underneath the lower buttock, both legs extended up. Modification, knees bent. This will be the, I don't like to say more gentle again, but single leg lift. So the inhale lowers one leg. And exhale, you pull it up just as slowly, and then you switch. If you want to turn the volume up a little bit for your yogi sit-ups, you glue the legs together. You inhale, lower them down, and you exhale, pull them up. Now the variation I introduced the other day involves a yoga block, or I had an exercise ball, but the block works. And you can take it on its medium or wide setting. And the action is to open the legs like your double yogi sit-up and the arms overhead with the prop. Now when you exhale, you're going to place the prop between the feet, trying not to bend the knees. And every inhale, you move back out into that wide yogi sit-up, arms overhead, legs out. And then you exhale, reach up, grab the prop, legs and arms extend out. Exhale, reach it up, switch. And inhale, open. So we should all have a good option here to go. And I'm watching all you. Now remember, if you're not doing these, taking care of your low back, you can choose to do a different variation of that. Good job, I love it. Knees bent as well. Good work. And the other thing is you're following your breath, and you don't want to get to the point at any time where your back hyperextends and arches too far off the ground, okay? So you really want to be pulling navel to spine. And if you start to feel the belly heat up and a fire in the belly, that's what we want. That's our Agni. Burning away all that yuckiness in there, all that residue, stuff that's been sitting around in there, both physically and emotionally. Get it all out. Burn it away. So let's do 2 more, whatever version we're doing. If you're moving the prop between the feet and the hands, as some of you are, next time the prop is in the hands, we'll take a break. So we'll drop the feet to the ground, hug the knees in maybe for a second, relax the belly. And then we're going to visit our bridge pose to stretch those muscles out that we just worked. If you want a more gentle version of this tonight, you may take your yoga block, squeeze to lift up, resting the low back on the yoga block. I can talk tonight. And set to Bandhasan, feet parallel, knees parallel, and just enjoy the stretch here. Or extend the legs out into Purna Shalabhasan. That's going to be a hip opener, an ab stretch, and a counter to sitting. If you still want to get the benefits of bridge, but you feel like you need a little bit more strength in your life this evening, or strengthening, yoga block between the thighs, arms down, feet parallel. Squeeze the backside, lift the hips up, walk the shoulders and arms under, interweaving all 10 fingers, and holding there. So the first one's going to be a more restorative hip opener, counter to sitting. The second one's going to be more to build up strength for the back of the body. And some days we need more of one than the other. So I want you to really think about what you need today and tonight. One is not better than the other. And sometimes we just got to choose what really is going to be the best for our body and our mind. Wherever we are, I want us to try to take 2 more breaths. Those of you in the more active version, continue to press to the backs of the arms and the feet, squeezing the buttock and the backside. Restorative people, we're putting intention into letting go of tension and tightness through the front of the body. If you're lifted up, you'll slide your arms out. You'll slowly melt your low back to the ground. You can take the block out and windshield wipe the knees out. If we're in supported Purna Bandhasan, step the feet in. We'll squeeze the backside just enough to slide our blocks out. We'll also melt down to the ground and windshield wipe the knees until we're ready to hug the knees in. Let's all meet with the knees drawn in towards the body. Extend both legs up to waterfall pose. Point and flex those feet a couple times. Massage out those hamstrings back there. Keeping the feet actively flexing, holding those outer thighs, opening the legs up into our wide angle V stretch. Moving the hands to the inside to deepen that stretch, roll through the ankles. Relax the shoulders and the back of the head. Big breath in. Exhale, squeezes the legs straight back up to waterfall. Bend the knees. Keep the feet parallel to each other. Arms will extend out from the shoulders. Exhale, we'll drop both knees over to the right for our spinal twist. Add props as needed. Right hand to top thigh to deepen the twist. Now sink that left shoulder back down, turn the head to the left, close the eyes, and just breathe. Inhale brings the head and the knees up. We might need to do a little scooch before we go to our other side. Exhale, knees to the left. Left hand to top thigh to deepen that twist. Sink the right shoulder back to the ground, turn the head to the right. Bringing it all out, slowing the breath down as we come to the end of our practice. Bringing out any stress or tension that might be lingering in the mind or the body. The next inhale will bring us back out. Head and knees can come up. Make sure everything's back in alignment. Exhaling, trying to reach those arms across the shin bones as best as possible. Floating the nose to the knees to stretch out the whole back. Giving our body and ourselves some love and appreciation here. Breathe it in. And on that next exhale, we get to let it go. So if you like where you are, feeling connected with the whole body and the ground, or if you want to slide some of those props back under the body for support, or on top of the body for some sensations, for the belly to help weight the body, ground the body, eye coverings, whatever it might be, let's take a moment to organize, to put some effort into our pose. Purposeful, mindful relaxation. Once we're in a place that we feel comfortable, we feel balanced, side to side, front to back, we'll press that pause button from our day. We'll let go of trying to control the body. We'll let go of trying to control the breath. Finding both calmness and peacefulness and a quality of stillness in the body and breath. The mind will eventually catch up and also begin to be more peaceful, calm, and quiet. Let the fingertips curl up naturally. With the lips softly touching, release the tongue and lower jaw to gravity. Undo any expression across the face, unfurling the brow, letting the eyes sink into the sockets. Feel the weight of the arms from the shoulders to the elbows, to the backs of the hands. Feel the weight of the legs from the hips to the knees, to the heels. Relax the toes and the soles of the feet. And then relax all the way around the torso of the body. Relaxing the abdominal muscles and all of the internal organs. If the mind wanders, we just gently bring it back to the peaceful breath. Or we focus our mind's eye at the navel center, our place of courage, willpower, and self-esteem. Giving ourselves just one more moment of today to let go, relax, and sink into Shavasana. Slowly coming back to the breath and breathing life back into our body. Waking up the big toe, second toe, all the toes. Waking up the fingertips. Rocking the head side to side. Rolling the ankles and wrists. Next inhale, revisiting our long body stretch. Reaching those arms all the way overhead, bringing the legs down the middle of the mat, creating space through the body, side to side, front to back. One more big breath in to spread all the toes and fingertips. On the exhale, we'll float those arms down, step the feet in, draw the knees into the body to rock out the back. Right arm falls beside the head, rolling onto our right side and pausing in Supta Balasana. Turning the heart towards the ground, pressing down into the ground to bring our bodies up, where we will revisit any comfortable seated pose. Sitting up tall through the crown of the head, balancing our weight equally on the sit bones, minding the space around us. Extending the arms out from beside the body, palms up. Let's all take another deep breath together, float those arms up to the ceiling and gather up everything we need for the rest of our night. Turning the palms back out, floating the arms all the way back down, and exhaling away all that other junk we don't need. And one more time, inhale those arms up. Palms touch, exhaling hands to heart. Humbly bowing the head down towards the heart. To pause and honor and thank ourselves, our bodies, each other, and remembering to be grateful to anyone else that made it possible for us to connect and practice our yoga together today. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace. And I thank you all so much as usual. It's so nice to have you all tonight. Thank you for taking time out of your day and finishing off your day with some yoga with me.